All right. I am like flipping forward and I'm not meaning to, guys. Let me go back. Okay. So today we're going to talk about Google My Business Part 1. This is a two-part series. Google My Business is a new application that Google has come up with to help promote businesses, get them using digital tools, meeting customer bases online, registering with Google Maps. There's a variety of functions. And so we're going to learn about that and what that entails. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Kelly Fountain, and I love teaching technology education programs. I've done them for almost 2 years here at the library and taught technology education formally at the university level for a decade. So if you want to reach out to me, my email is fountaink@trailslibrary.org. So, like I said, Google offers small business solutions to get your businesses online. So this could be any type of business. It could be maybe something you want to freelance or just dabble in trying to do. It doesn't have to be an organized LLC or small business that has, that sort of already built up structure. It could be just new business opportunities you're looking at venturing into for yourself. So Google is here to help small businesses. One can explore free tools and resources to get online, connect with customers, and build digital skills. So we have the two parts that I talked about. Today we're going to focus on the resources to get online and digital skills. And these 3 and 4 parts we will focus on in the next session. So today we're focusing on these for September 11th. And then our next session is going to be part 2. It's going to be Friday, September 25th. And that's when we're going to focus on the customer tools and connecting with customers. So there's a little bit of a process to get registered with Google. And you don't just do it all in one setting online. They will actually mail something to you with a verification code. And so that's kind of why there is a lapse. And so we're going to, flow with the way their process works. Okay, so for resources to get online, you're going to build your local presence with the Google profile. And this is a process that we're going to learn more about. The way you're going to do that is you're going to use what's called the Local Opportunity Finder tool. And so this is what Google has set up to allow you to actually search to see if your name is available in your area, and then to register with Google. So in the first way they have you register with Google is through the search and maps tools. So you're going to go in and see if that name or that category and that name combination is available in your area, and then you can start to register that. So there's a lot of people that may be doing businesses like yours, or there might not be. So the way that you will go in and do this registration for the Local Opportunity Finder is you will go into a form. And this is the link to the form. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and that should load the link. I'm just going to move my camera. And so this allows you to get started. And when you get in here, you're going to enter a business name, and then you'll enter a business category, and you'll go through the steps. So I have the steps outlined in my slides, so I'm going to go back to my slides now. And for example, on mine, I went through this process and took some screenshots, and I have this kind of fictitious kind of, I don't know, what do you call it, freelance site called Fairy Paintings. So I built out a Facebook page for that when I was teaching some of my art students at the Art Institute. And since I have a website and Facebook business page already dedicated to that, I can link up to that. That's what I chose to use in my example. So in your search area here is where you would enter your category name. And then they're going to ask you, they're going to say they need more information about your business, and they'll have this long list of things to scroll through. And so in here's where you'll go and you'll pick a type. And in my example, I picked artists as the type. And then the next thing that it asked for was my zip code. And then it had a Let's Go button to go ahead and promote or enter that form through their search engine. So my results was that my business doesn't have a profile on Google Search or Google Maps. And it also let me know my profile name was available. So I was happy and lucky in that regard. And if you want, we could go through this steps together. The thing I notice about Google is they're always kind of changing their look of these small business pages. And some of their interfaces look different over a period of weeks. So it seems like every few weeks they're coming back and tailoring it a little bit more. And so some of my screenshots may not match up exactly like what you're seeing, but it's generally the same type of information. So we could enter a business name here. Diane, if you want to turn your mic on, if you have an idea or if you have something we could search for, we could do that. Or Sarah, if you have an idea. And if not, you know, if you don't want to go through these steps, we don't necessarily have to. It's just an option I wanted to put out there.
No, I didn't have a business name in mind quite yet, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what would you say? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, you don't have to go through all that if you don't want to right now.
Okay. All right. So it's pretty standard. It's just those three things that they're going to search for and then put into their search engine. Once you realize that you don't have a profile, that's where you're going to click on this link that says sign up for Google My Business. And I've got that in the next slide also, and we start to talk about that. So like I just said, once you see your profile name is available, you can start building out your digital My Business profile. And you do that by clicking on that link that I showed you in that previous slide. So once you do that, it's going to ask you to select a Gmail account you want to log on with. Now, if you're working within like a closed, if you have a Gmail, like we have a Gmail for Trails Regional Library, that's like .trailslibrary.org. If you're working within a closed system like that, or a school district or something, you have a Gmail account, it's not going to let you set up a business through that sort of Gmail. You have to go into like a personal account. So if you try to do that, you will get an error message. You'll get something that says that, you know, your administrator will not allow you to do this within that domain. Because what you find out with these Gmail accounts, a lot of times you can't send mail outside of your business domain. You have to keep it within, it's almost like an intranet. You have to keep it within your group. So I have gone ahead and set up a personal email, and that's where my small business profile links up to. So once you get past that and complete this step, you will have what's called Google for Small Business, and you've entered this Google My Businesses phase. So it kind of launches into another app. Before you were kind of searching for this local opportunity finder, and you were looking at what's available for Google Small Businesses. Now you're in your own personal Google My Business profile. Does that make, I think that makes sense. You go from like kind of an external way of them looking at the way this system works into your own version of the system that you can now enter information into fields and you can now customize. And they ask you some of the same questions again. They ask you your business name again. They ask you to locate your business name again. So it seems a little redundant, but I think the redundancy is there because they're going from one structure, like an outer structure like this is, where we're going to see if that's available, into an internal structure where you're actually building out your own profile. So the second one's customizable. The first one is just it's just like a doorkeeper, a gatekeeper, to see if you're going to be able to go into this business profile and build it out. So once you get into Google My Business, there are fields that you're going to put in. Like I said, you're going to put in your name again, and then you're going to click add your business to Google. So it's kind of simple. If you can't find your business, it's going to have you look for it again, but usually it works automatically. And then you will just click next. It'll ask you for a business category again, so you'll have to go through these steps again of picking, whatever business category you have. And then it will ask you, and this is the first time they asked you this question, do you want to add a location the customer can visit, like a storefront or office? So say you're selling Mary Kay, or there's like the jewelry or the candles that people sell are part of like they have a catalog and they go around and they kind of sell like freelance. If you have something like that, you could, if you wanted to, enter your home address, but you don't have to feel like you need to. So if you don't want to have a location where people can come visit you, you can just click no, which makes sense if you're a consultant or you're working freelance. Then it's going to ask you where your customers are. And this is where it gets a little confusing and a little tricky, because it lets you pick multiple customer bases. And sometimes it lets you pick really generic fields, but then they don't always work to your advantage later on. So say if you're an artist or something like that, and you want to sell your stuff mostly online, then you might say, United States is my customer base. So I entered that as a field the first time, and it went ahead and took that location. But later on, when I'm in my Google Business profile, it doesn't really recognize it because it wants cities, states, and then country. It wants something more specific later on. So I use Kansas City, Missouri, Warrensburg, Missouri, USA in my example. Now, other additional contact information that's going to ask you if you want to provide is a phone number and your website URL. So I didn't really want to add my phone number on this. I don't necessarily think that all businesses have to have a phone number, but I think some businesses that may be a consulting type business might want to go ahead and have their phone number there for easy access. So I think you want to consider that and weigh that consideration. Obviously, if you have a storefront, you'll want that phone number there. So that's important. I think most companies or most businesses should have, I think all businesses should have a website or URL. And what's interesting about Google My Business is if you don't have a website, then when you first, you'll pick this, I don't need a website. And you will have the opportunity to see that they have some website tools available to you. Now, if you go ahead and select that you do have a website, later on those tools don't become available to you. They kind of show up and then you register and then you lose access to those tools. So I would keep in mind that if you have something that works and that you feel confident with, you would go ahead and right here, click on this box and add that URL. So my current URL is a Facebook business page. So I have facebook.com and then kelly.fountain.fairypainting/. So that if you choose to do a business or a business page through another source, make sure that you have, your name or the name of the company in that URL. Have that identifying information as part of your naming convention. So really consider that and make sure that you do that so that when people search for you with the search engines, it's going to look for that. It's going to pull that information, and try to pick something specific. And then there'll be opportunities. I don't know, later on, if you get into building out a website where you can put tags into pictures or pictures of your business, and you can tag them with the company name, and then those will come up when Google does searches with their search engines, and those will come up as images, and those will drive people to your site. So the more places that you have your information tagged in the metadata, they call that on the internet, the more that's going to help you. And that could be a whole nother program, but that's something interesting to kind of think about and maybe consider and maybe read some more about if you're interested in that kind of thing. All right, so then after you've gone through that, it's going to tell you that you're able to manage this fairy paintings on Google. You're going to be able to promote your business with photos and posts, track your business with analytics to understand your customers, and respond to customer reviews. So a lot of what this Google My Business page does is allow customers to post reviews and share them with you, and for you to kind of build up with that repertoire or rapport with people, and be able to share that digitally on the internet. So the analytics track how many people are like going to your site and looking up your information or looking for your name. So Google Analytics is something they've had for a long time. And when I was an art director and we did e-stores for Fortune 500 companies, we ran Google Analytics on all our sites. So we could tell how many people have looked at that site in the last week. They'll show, the number and on the day, and they will chart that into a graph. So this same kind of thing is becoming available to people that are doing these small business pages with Google. And I'd like to also add, the Facebook business pages, they have that too. And we do those sort of analytics. We can see that information on our Trails Library website too, how many people have looked at what posts and what they've liked, that kind of information. So that's kind of valuable things to kind of find who you're reaching with your advertisements or your marketing or just your online efforts. So once you get to this, you're almost at the end of this whole process. And this is when Google's going to request an address to send you a mail verification. And this kind of caught me off guard because I didn't realize that Google was sending us postcards in the mail with Google codes, but that is exactly how this process works. So Google will request an address, and you'll put that information in, and once you've done that, you'll just click next. It'll ask you if you want to receive the verification as a postcard, and that's what I went ahead and chose, is to get the postcard. I didn't go into the more options. I assume it probably has something to do with phones, but this is their primary one, so I went ahead and just did that as the default. And it said it may take up to 5 days for your code to arrive in the mail, and mine came within 5 days. So I think it was like 4 days or so, and there it was. So also it gives you these like little posting that, it's your verification codes coming and that's going to be your next step. You'll get it in the 5 business days. It's going to say attention, and it's going to be to however you put your name in the system, K Fountain, and it'll have the address and the name of your business. So here's a picture of the postcard that I got, and it has 3 steps that you're going to follow to enter this verification code. So once you enter the verification code, you're going to go to this site called google.com verify my business. And we can kind of look at that right now. So let me just grab this URL. Let me escape out of here for a second. And I have, let's see. I think this might be up because I have this email up. So as I was saying, if you have like a email for a group up and it's logging you into that, sometimes that causes you to have errors in accessing this Google My Business. Let me try this again. That's interesting. We'll just go to Google and ask it. So this is another way to get into this Google My Business. They have, if you come down here, it says www.google.com business, and this is another way to get into this profile. So you can come in here, and I actually wanted to verify, and I'm not sure why it didn't verify. Okay, so it's just this email, google.com/business/verify, like we showed in the slides, and here's where you will enter that code. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the verify part. And then I'm going to go back to my slide, and then I'll come back to this for a minute. So I think I actually, yeah, I've got my slideshow still up maybe. One of the things I did is I built my slideshow under my work profile, which to get into Google My Business, I have to be outside of my work profile. So it kind of does some funky things with that. Let me just go to present. Okay. So we went through all these steps. That was further along. Okay. So once you go to this Verify My Business page, you'll enter that code, and then you'll be able to sign into your account. So it's kind of setting this up a little bit different, but I think I went into a different version of this. So your postcard will come with your 5-digit code. Like I said, this is the screenshot of the page that I had before to enter the 5-digit code. So like I said, there's various ways that Google's setting up the routing into this web portal. And it's a little bit confusing. Every time I come in, it's a little bit different. What I wanted to show you here is once I have added this My Business to my account, this is linked to one of my emails. So there's a little profile picture of me. This is linked to my personal gmail.com. And once I log into that, I can go to this expand button, and I will find this icon in there. And this is the My Businesses icon. And that's where I can access those tools that we will learn about in the next presentation. So that's really where the journey kind of starts, or maybe the journey starts with, you know, this whole registration process and getting this app into your Drive. Now, there are times I've seen the Google Business app looking like this and having a lot of features, and sometimes, and this seems to change, and this is when you have some website capabilities. So before I was finished with the verification process, I had more ability to build out different things than once I verified it. And I don't know for sure if that's a change that Google is making with the platform, or if it has to do with once you verify the code, and it becomes set in stone that you have a website and you'll have to go in and to your settings to change that, and then maybe get that option back if you want to, you know, use their website tool instead of your website that you link to. So there's some kind of, I don't know that they're really inconsistencies, but there's some deviations and some of the pathways with that. But this has a lot to do, the splash page that they had has a lot to do with how to stay connected during COVID, and it lets you know that you're going to have $100 free advertising credit, and those things don't go away. The links to the COVID information and these credit informations, it's just they start to present it to you in a different way. So before I do the recap and end the presentation, I did just want to kind of show you two ways to get into the Google My Business. So like I was showing you with the slides, you can go into Drive, and then you can go into this Google My Business. And this has to do with where those locations are that we talked about. And as I kind of explained in the slideshow, it recognizes United States, Kansas City, Missouri, and Warrensburg, Missouri, USA. It recognizes those here and verifies those. But if you use something generic like all of the United States, it doesn't want to verify that. So that is some interesting thing, that it would accept that information as a field when you first went into the program, and then later on it created an issue. But these managing reviews, linked accounts, all these things we will talk about next time. The other thing I was going to show you is you can, if you don't want to go into your email first, you can get into your Google My Business profile by going to this google.com/business and then go to sign in. So, and if you want to sign in with one of your accounts, and I would sign in with my personal account, then it takes you back to that same screen that we were at before. So let's go through the recap now, and then we can answer questions. Okay, so to recap on this presentation, this virtual program for Google My Business Part 1, we learned today about the resources to get you online. And the first resource is the Local Opportunity Finder. So that's going to make sure that your business name is available and that you can use that name in your area. And this is going to help you stand out later on with Google Search and Google Maps. Now, it doesn't mean that you're totally registered with Google Search and Google Maps, but I was able, after this process, to put Ferry Paintings in Google Maps and for it to come up with the location that I had put in. So you'll learn about that next time, and we'll explore that next time. We'll actually do a search for our business with Google Maps. And then after registering our business name with Google, we begin to build digital skills. So the way we began to build our digital skills was by entering our contact information, getting that verification code from Google, and getting access to the Google My Business app. So next time in part 2, we will review the Google My Business app. We will review the Google My Business app tools, and we will find out ways to connect with customers. So next time our focus is going to be on, once you get this Google My Business tool, what can you do with it? So connections with Google's business solutions are out of this world. Just had a cool infographic I wanted to throw in there to kind of say, yeah, there's lots of ways that you can use the internet and Google to find a customer base, serve a customer base you already have, or get more connected throughout the internet with people that are looking for this sort of business solution that you have. Okay, so thanks. That's the presentation for today. I would like to open it up to any questions now. And you can find me at fountaink@childslibrary.org. Feel free to contact me anytime. And that wraps up our program for today.